Saturday, September. Tulloch, in the meantime, was right on target for the blue ribband AJC Derby to be run at most of the opposition, and only 5 runners faced the starter in the Derby. The Classic was run at Arthur Ward had driven Prince Darius to the lead, but his taste for glory was to be short-lived.
Turkestan running on pretty well. Ranger Force weakened badly, but the champion has drawn right away from Prince Darius with a half furlong to go. Tulloch is increasing his lead with every stride, and Tulloch is going to run out an easy win in the AJC Derby and obviously make very fast time.
Tulloch had won in magnificent fashion. Despite the apparent ease, his time at 2:29.1 slashed more than 2 seconds from Far-Lap's race record set nearly 30 years prior. Fair in force at Caulfield just a week later, when Tulloch was asked for a mighty effort. Only 7 days after his record-breaking 2,400 metres victory run in Sydney, he was coming back 800 metres in distance to the mile Caulfield Guineas and meeting the best 3-year-olds Victoria could muster. A wide tremendous run around the field. Jockey George Moore knew what he had underneath him.
When we went to the half mile, there was 3 leaders, and I was up outside and bolting on him, and William said to me, I can't say it on television what he said, but it was a pretty rude word. He said, "You got to be so-and-so kidding."
Go, Tulloch on the outside is ranged up 4 deep to tackle Morilla. Good summer there, and over on the inside is My Peter, followed by Starry Eyes, and just in behind them, Well Spender. Royal Ribbon followed by Lead Strum at the head of the others. As they come around the home turn, it's Tulloch, the great champion, putting his head in front of Good Summer. On the inside is My Peter. Gay Saber's a long way back but making ground, and Fame behind them as they straighten up for the run in. Tulloch has cruised up on the outside to hit the front, and here he goes. Tulloch has drawn away from the field in the Caulfield Guineas. He's all over a winner. He's drawing well here. Gay Saber getting up on the inside. Fame from a long way back, followed by Good Summer, but it's all Tulloch. He's a great champion. He'll bolt in. Tulloch in
Tulloch had scored an awesome 8-lengths victory. He had again treated seemingly insuperable odds with disdain. On his return to scale, Smith confirmed that Tulloch would now tackle the Caulfield Melbourne Cup's double. Sweep around the back. Yes, he did.
They break up. Max Amber takes the lead. But here's the great Tulloch on the outside, going up to Max Amber, and Travis Snyder's holding on well. Tulloch breaks up to Max Amber with a half furlong to go, and the Wonder Horse Tulloch takes the lead and is streaking away. Tulloch is streaking away in the Caulfield Cup.
His reception was a tumultuous one.
Holding on well. Tulloch breaks up to Max Amber with a half furlong to go, and the Wonder Horse Tulloch takes the lead and is streaking away. Tulloch is streaking away in the Caulfield Cup.
His reception was a tumultuous one. The great colt had streaked away, and the official margin of 2 lengths was highly suspect. Most people in racing found it hard to accept that such a short chance of winning the Melbourne Cup had been relinquished. What was to follow was seen by many as confirmation of a giant injustice. Tulloch had been entered for the Victoria Derby, and after his slashing Caulfield Cup win, was at unbackable odds. Only 7 runners opposed the crackerjack youngster, amongst them the ubiquitous Prince Darius. George Moore was back in the saddle, and once the field turned for home, he allowed Tulloch more rein. The colt raced away unextended and eased down to thrash the struggling Prince Darius by 8 lengths.
further they go, the further this great horse draws away, and Tulloch doing the job in brilliant style is a mile in front of Cutie and Prince Darius, which is having a hard run, and Tulloch is absolutely going to rub home the easiest of winners. Tulloch is first, second is Prince Darius, and third...
So, to the first Tuesday in November, and a somewhat anticlimactic Melbourne Cup. As fate would have it, the Ezra Norton-owned straight draw gave the newspaper publisher his greatest racing thrill by scrambling home by a bare neck ahead of Tulloch's shadow, the luckless Prince Darius. The result merely confirmed in the minds of many that had Tulloch been allowed to start, he would have recorded one of the easiest wins ever. Sadly, we will never know. Making his way north in quest of another blue riband, this time in Brisbane, the Queensland Derby. It was a one-act affair, as expected, with Tulloch winning on the bit by 7 lengths at 16 to 1 on. In winning, he rewrote the record books by being the first horse this century to win the Triple Crown of Derbies. He had also earned a holiday. He had treated the racing public to one of the most triumphant successions of victories in racing history by simply outclassing and demoralizing his opposition. He had made good horses look ordinary, and his return to racing was eagerly awaited. It was embarking on an ambitious program, but nothing was impossible for a horse of his caliber. That same day, the 2,800 metres St. Reg was run, and Tulloch took out the 3-year-old Classic with his shadow left wanting 20 lengths away. And a further furlong away was Pin High, third.
Rise making no impression. It's a very tired horse chasing Tulloch, and Tulloch is increasing his lead with every stride. Tulloch goes on to win the St. Ledger by 15 lengths from Prince Darius, a long way.
Back to a mile.
In that autumn, that wonderful autumn of 1958, he had 6 starts in 27 days. He raced in every one of those races. And really, I think, though, the greatest performance of his miraculous 3-year-old career was his win in the Caulfield Cup.
His record now stood at 21 wins from 29 starts. His prize money of £66,000, or $132,000, was almost double the previous record for a 3-year-old set by Sailor's Guide. His exploits that season laid fair claim to the title of the greatest 3-year-old ever. One glorious...
Never picked up at all. He just on the down. We all thought he would die.
The racing world was aghast. The headline horse had been felled by a mystery illness. Strappers and vets kept a vigil. His condition kept deteriorating, and it seemed certain that his big heart would give way to the killer infection.
I just up to the vet. I wouldn't.
20 months of intensive treatment seemed to have failed. He was at the brink of death when Sykes introduced one last unconventional medication. 20 months. Tulloch had been sidelined by the recurring deadly illness, 7 years in human terms. Now, an extraordinary recovery was underway. The day before the race, hopes plummeted when Tulloch was easily beaten by a maiden in a track workout. Scepticism was now rife. Smith and Haley were under fire.
I was just hoping. All I was hoping that Tulloch would put a good run in, because everyone was there to knock him to say he should be retired.
Tulloch never lost faith. A crowd of Melbourne Cup proportions spilled into Flemington that day, and there was another who came with the mantle of Victoria's best weight for age performer, and he carried it proudly. His name, appropriately, was Lord, and he was well loved and much revered in the southern capital. Were prepared to settle for a respectable showing, but the Stratford Johnson stood firm.
I had £200 I borrowed. I tried to get it off Mr. Sykes. He wouldn't give it to me. And who else? Mr. Haley. Peter Haley wouldn't give it to me. And none of them, so I had to go and borrow it off someone else. 4 to 1. I'd never ever get it again as long as he had 4 legs on the ground. We'd never ever get it again.
With George Moore in England, Neville Selwood was given the awesome task of partnering Tulloch that day.
Tulloch is on the outside of that pair of half-lengths back. The length end of Mac on the outside of Woolman after going a short distance, where Lord, no pace on, had the lead. A clear length now to Tulloch sitting on the outside of the South Australian Tulloch. Tulloch is getting closer to Lord, and the crowd starting to roar. Come on, Tulloch. as they came down towards the 3.5, where Tulloch is almost on terms with Lord. Lord is about a long head in front. A length and a half to Tulloch on the inside of Mac and Warman last around the turn. 2.5 furlongs left to run. Lord is still the leader. Again about a half length in front of Tulloch. Silver asking for Tulloch now for the last effort. They're followed by Tulloch and Mac on the outside. Lord is still about a head in front. Tulloch side by side is racing up on the outside of Lord. Lord and Tulloch settle down to a Titanic duel. Silver's gone for the whip on Tulloch. He's got his head in front. Lord is coming again. Lord and Tulloch are going to the line, absolutely locked together, and they hit the line. Photo, and I'll give it to Tulloch. I'll give it to Tulloch and not to the Lord.
Selwood had urged what seemed to be a winning lunge. Close photo finish, and Tulloch's number shot into the frame. Pandemonium broke loose. Emotions boiled over, and tears were trumps as women wept openly, and strong men turned away.
I just found the tears running down my cheeks. I felt so damn stupid. And I went down behind the stand, way away from everybody. And the noise of people thumping, 90-odd thousand people thumping their feet on the ground, it was an incredible sound.
The champ was back. 3 weeks later, and consecutive victories followed. First, the Chipping Norton at Warwick Farm, the Queen Elizabeth and Autumn Stakes at Randwick, and finally the O'Shea Stakes at Eagle Farm before spelling. His incredible return had yielded 5 wins. Yet, Smith claimed he was only half the horse he was prior to the illness that all but claimed his life. Overall, Tulloch was second again in the George Main Stakes before taking care of Persian Lyric with ridiculous ease in the Craven Plate. But the big test was still to come. In the Weight for Age Championship of Australia, the WS Cox Plate at Moonee Valley. How would the champ react when the chips were really down? Tulloch would be opposed to the hottest weight for age gallopers of the day, including the brilliant 3-year-old Sky High. The cast also included Persian Lyric and the star Victorian Dorligiri, whose trainer boldly boasted his horse would break the Australasian record for the 2,000 metres plate. This he did, but Tulloch was to finish ahead of him. His electrifying burst would stop the clock at a breathtaking 2 minutes, 1.1 seconds, smashing the record.
7 furlongs to go. Tulloch and Dorligiri fighting it out. Tulloch between them. Dorligiri won't give in. The champion's got his head in front, and he'll win it. Tulloch wins the Cox Plate from Dorligiri. Persian Lyric was
ahead of him. His electrifying burst would stop the clock at a breathtaking 2 minutes, 1.1 seconds, smashing the record.
7 furlongs to go. Tulloch and Dorligiri fighting it out. Tulloch between them. Dorligiri won't give in. The champion's got his head in front, and he'll win it. Tulloch wins the Cox Plate from Dorligiri. Persian Lyric was third.